preparing for instructional delivery. The first 3 parts of this module focused on the work that is done in instructional teams, developing a detailed unit plan, aligning instruction with standards-based objectives, and developing activities to accommodate individual student learning needs. With few exceptions, the actual delivery of instruction is done by individual teachers. So in this part, Part 4, we'll move from the instructional team into the classroom. Ready? Let's begin with a little review. Our first indicator states that all teachers are guided by a document that aligns standards, curriculum, instruction, and assessment. That document is the unit plan or unit of instruction. You will recall, the unit of instruction is typically 3 to 6 weeks worth of work within a subject area that defines and aligns the following components: state standards and benchmarks, district curriculum guidelines, school curriculum guidelines, standards benchmark-based objectives, criteria for mastery, and unit pre-test and post-test items, with leveled and differentiated learning activities. While the unit plan guides a teacher's instruction for a 3 to 6 week period, more specific planning is required to inform daily and weekly instruction. That brings us to the next indicator. All teachers develop weekly lesson plans based on aligned units of instruction. Instruction is delivered through a variety of modes. Whole class instruction, when the teacher delivers material to the entire class at the same time, and work time, which allows for various modes of instruction to occur simultaneously through independent work, teacher-directed groups, student-directed groups, computer-based learning, or homework. To plan for whole class instruction and work time instruction, the teacher first creates a weekly class schedule like the one shown here. This allows the teacher to chunk out time for both whole class and work time instruction. Once the weekly class schedule is established, the teacher then prepares a whole class outline for each subject. This outline serves as the teacher's basic preparation for each whole class presentation. It prompts the teacher to outline the key components of whole class instruction and align it to the week's standard-based objectives. But what about what we learned in Part 3, differentiating instruction to accommodate individual student needs? Where does that come into play? Right here. All teachers differentiate assignments, individualize instruction, in response to individual student performance on pre-tests and other methods of assessment. In order to move the students forward, instruction is differentiated based on their pre-test results and subsequent assessment of their work. Here, we'll listen as a teacher explains and demonstrates how she used pre-test data to individualize her instruction during work time.
Well, my plans for tomorrow I have just thrown in the trash because based on the results from the pretest, what I was going to do for some students would not be the best use of their time. So looking at the pre-assessment data, it's instead of a rotation, it's going to be much more of a, I need to speak with you two students for 5 minutes so I can build them a foundation of what the rest of the group will be doing. So it's looking at individual kids to see where their areas of need are and then to help build them up before they go into a whole group type lesson. Well, this space, if I got my ruler and I did it right, which I may not have, as long as my line segments never ever cross, 3.5. As long as they never cross and they're segments, they can be considered line segments. I noticed when you guys took the assessment, there was a couple tricky ones. One showed rulers, and they showed a bunch of rulers and asking you which are, okay. It doesn't matter if they use rulers or pipes or jump ropes or railroad tracks or Hot Wheel cars. If I'm using just plain intersecting lines, my square is not going to fit in there, Ron. If I'm doing just plain intersecting lines. Once I can make it, once I can make a perfect little square in there, that's when it becomes a perpendicular line. In your journal, I want you to draw.
What's the perpendicular line?
Where they go perfectly straight, and I can put my little square there. I can put a little square in there. So in your journal, I want you to draw.
Her students' pretest data indicated that she needed to spend some small group time during her class's work time with a few students to focus on the prerequisite objective by giving them additional support. Here, we'll listen as a teacher describes how this indicator affords his students the opportunity to work at their own levels.
Because I got students engaged for a much larger portion of the day. Because they're working at their own levels. And I've got students who are in this 4th grade classroom working on 3rd grade materials, 4th grade, 5th grade, and eventually on 6th and 7th grade materials that are right at their level. So they're really having to use their brain power to focus on learning something that's the right difficulty for them.
Writing is looking at, as you look at students' writing, you look at the standard, but you also look at what do most of the kids need to know for a whole group. So you're assessing their writing, thinking about what's a whole group lesson. What is it that certain kids need that other kids don't need? And that would be your small group for guided writing. And that could be reteaching or it could be extension. These kids are ready to do paragraphing. They need to go on and learn to do paragraphing. Or these kids are really ready to write closings. And we've had some groups like that this year because we noticed these kids are doing this. So we are using that assessment. It's more of an ongoing kind of assessment versus a standard assessment. I mean, I don't give like a writing test. So, and then the individual conferences, which let us either, as we're conferencing, we're either discovering commonalities. So when we take notes, we see what individuals have in common for a small group or whole group. And also there are things that you just teach right away. So you think about, as you're conferencing, I'm always looking at what does the child need to know as a writer? That's going to help him. Is it something I can teach him quickly right now, or is it something I need to get more intensive with? So that's how we use our assessments.